accused of bouncing basketballs. These kids are about to leave. I just found a film, 2-person game, is a varsity game that we do a tournament over at Cornerstone. I think it was a few years ago. All I'm going to do is just show the film and just kind of go through it, and we'll go for, maybe an hour or so, and we can start if you have any questions or if anybody wants to add anything. We did this with Becky Marshall in our last 3-person, where I sent over some clips or a quarter of 3 games, and she basically just broke it down. I thought it was very effective. So I kind of wanted to use the same concept tonight to go over that. So that's kind of how it's going to work. Again, if you have any questions, please make sure that you do ask, either mute yourself or in the chat. Just write a question in the chat, and we'll be more than happy to answer those. I don't want anybody to leave here with a question unanswered. So and also, when you ask a question, it also can stem other questions, which starts a dialogue, and that's definitely what we want. We found out from all these Zoom meetings we've been doing, the more we get from participants from all the referees on the Zoom meeting, the more productive they are, as opposed to just maybe 1 or 2 people speaking. No pressure to ask questions. Again, if some of y'all are just on here and you listen, you learn a lot, it's great. But if you definitely have some questions that are kind of eating you up, and it may not even to pertain to today's, please make sure that you ask. And I'm always, if I can't get you the right, if I can't answer it, I will definitely make sure I will get the right answer for you guys as far as that. So let me go ahead and share my screen. We'll pop this game up, and we'll just kind of work our way through it.
Or can I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
Just what you talked about, Becky, and her evaluations in that session that we did last week. If some folks that may not have seen it or were not on, one of the things that you take away from that is there was really not a lot of talk of foul calling. It was more officials, their position, their hustle, their demeanor, everything that as an official you control, that even from a different view from the stands, it was where the official was, were they hustling, did they look like they were engaged, that type of stuff. I don't think maybe once in 2 hours we talked, I think they missed that one. It was being a better official, everything you control, close down, be wider, be engaged. So I just throw that out there. When we watch things, I think that's the big takeaway that we got, was how to, we're not questioning calls. It's if you're in the right position, you have a better opportunity to see it, and you're probably going to get it right. But we never talked about calls. We talked about everything else, the mechanics and being in the right spot. And I just throw that out there at the beginning.
Bill, go ahead. You got something to add?
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on what Frank just mentioned. That was probably a more effective session, because she didn't question judgment, but there were things that the film could not excuse. And that was how you looked out there, what your attitude and body language was, how you were confusing your partners with the wrong signals or no signals at all. And it all comes down to most cases of positioning. If a rotation didn't occur because somebody was lazy, 2 other people were hurt. In a 2-person game, half the crew is going to be hurt because you're the only other person. And I think when we take a look at these films, and one of the things I give positive kudos to this group is, you have not gone in and tried to excuse what is happening on the film. You were pointing out things where on the 3-person sessions, I think we will agree, Mark, that there's just so many things. Well, he might have been thinking this, or he could have been there, and shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? When you look at a film, look at it as factual. Don't look at it as something that you can edit and change. Take it as factual, see what you have to improve on, and then move on. But you have enough to worry about outside of your judgment, and if you get that right, your judgment's going to improve. Thank you.
Agreed. Thanks, Frank and Bill, for adding that. All right, so let's jump in. I'm going to ask some questions, and you're more than welcome to answer them through the chat or mute yourself. But let's talk right away from the jump ball. All right. So my first question to you is, who is responsible for counting the players? That's question number one. So again, you can write it in the chat, and I mean, again, I'd prefer not the experienced referees to answer these because we should already know, but that's the first one. What referee is responsible for counting, making sure that we have 5 players from black and 5 players from white in this game? So I'm just going to see. Okay, most people are saying U1. Okay. All right, so everyone is saying the U1, and I'm a big guy in the book, casebook manual, and the rules. To begin play, it says that both officials are responsible to count the numbers of plays on both teams. All right. Now, most people would say the U1 because the referee, we're thinking, is responsible for making sure the 2 players are in the circle and that they're on their side of the floor and they're focused on the toss. But this is, I didn't have it from the beginning, but this is why it's very crucial that the referee steps back over in this area. And also, then we have the players boxed in, and then we can, both referee and the U1 can count the players. And something really that we take for granted, that I'm sure a lot of you on here don't necessarily do that. So that's something that we do it. We do a good job of it, maybe out of timeouts and possibly out of when we have substitutions and those type things. When we come out of to begin quarters, the biggest point I wanted to touch on is I'm working really hard on it, is to be ready to referee from the jump. This really sets the tone from the beginning. So I just wanted to ask that first question. I also wanted to get into this right here. I'm just looking at this freeze frame. When we look at these 2 players here that are not side by side, just strictly in the chat, just put legal or illegal. Are they able to stand this far away from where they're standing right here in this situation? Are they able to stand like this? And then just, again, simply just you can just put yes or no if you want, or legal or illegal, just so we're kind of getting on the same page as far as this.
What was the question?
So the question is, did you see the 2 people that are highlighted? Are they allowed to stand one in front, one behind like this? Everybody's saying no. Okay, so my next question is, okay, players that are 3 feet within the circle have to be side by side. Are these players 3 feet from the center circle? Okay. So if they're 3 feet away, which they clearly are, they're not, then they're able to do this. Again, it's just simple rules. I've seen many referees go up to kids like this and how you got to be side by side. You got to do that only if they're within 3 feet of the circle. All right. Does anybody have anything different on that? Let me see the chats. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. All right. So we're good on that. Okay. Again, I just looked at this. I said, you know what? That kind of went to mind. Let me just go ahead and bring that up. Let me go ahead and remove that. Right there. Okay, so let's get into the jump ball. What right away we notice our U1 is not ready to referee, right? Responsibility of U1 is to do what? Is to chop the clock. We're going to start the clock when it's legally touched. So we need to have obviously our hand up, and either hand is fine. Doesn't say in the rule which one, they're in good position, but they're obviously not ready to referee, because that table crew is a part of your crew. They're waiting for that legally to be touched in order to start the clock. So we got to make sure that we're ready to go. Obviously that doesn't happen. Then the ball is tapped. I've seen a lot of referees, if you can see me, is they'll hold their hand up. I'm just doing it low. Obviously it would be higher. They will wait till a team gains possession before they chop the clock. Remember, it is when it's legally touched. When it's legally touched is when we need to start the clock. I don't know whose annotation it is, but do me a favor and try to delete that with the blue lines on there.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
As you're doing 2-man, and you're there as the U1 and you're getting ready to extend the arm up to do the chop, and as Mark said, either arm is acceptable. Think about this. If you use your left arm and you get in that habit, then when you start moving up and you get into 3-man and you're now in that position to chop the clock, and as you slide down, that left arm is now closer to the table and easier for the table crew to see in a 3-man game. So as you start going, either arm is good, but think about the left arm because that's what you're going to use once you get to 3-man and you're on that side to chop the clock just a little bit as you move up.
Any other questions on that? Sorry, I was just trying to get a referee in. Okay. All right. So we chop the clock, right? And then I want all of you, if you are the U1 in a 2-person game and we understand that the ball is which direction it's going, we have to hustle and run through the baseline. We've been talking about this in all of our Zoom meetings about our hustle, which someone had talked about earlier. We can control our hustle. We can control that. So you'll see in this crew, we have a referee that hustles a lot and one that doesn't. And I'm not talking of that being, someone made a comment about, well, this referee is faster than the other one. No one's talking about the speed of a referee. No one's saying that, oh, that referee is faster than that one. That means they're hustling more. Absolutely not. We're not talking about the speed. We're talking about, we can understand when you're running as fast as you can and when you're not. Obviously, the referee is faster than the U1 in this game. That has nothing to do with hustle. So I just wanted to make that a point, because we're not using that as an excuse saying that that referee is faster than me or she. That does not excuse that I'm not going to hustle as fast as I can. So you can control as fast as you can go. And for this referee, if you watch, they just do not run all the way through the baseline. So if we had a quick pass up or a quick shot or drive to the basket, they're not going to be in the position to referee. This is the first play of the game. And I'm sure many of you have heard this. We got to make sure that we come out ready to referee from the jump. Our first calls are going to be great calls, like the first, 30 seconds to a minute. We're going to set parameters for the game. And if we come out and we're not ready to referee and we're not hustling, we're not getting into position, you can only imagine what the coaches and players and fans are going to think of us from the beginning. So we need to control those things. All right. So that was one point I wanted to get, is that when you're the U1 and you know the ball settled and because 9 times out of 10, you're going to become lead. Please sprint your tail. Just tell yourself, okay, I'm going to chop the clock correctly when it's legally touched. I'm going to wait to see which team gets possession. And once they've secured possession, I know which way the ball is going. Then I'm going to get to my spot as fast as I can. Also looking over my shoulder, not just running through the baseline where I'm not even looking back to make sure that I can find referees in my primary, players in my primary and those type things. So that was one thing. Another point is, let's look at this first play. We have a traveling violation. Again, we're not going to get into if it's a travel or not. What happens is, and this is tough. This is a tough play because I know I do it a lot. I'm sure a lot of referees do in here, is that we expect that the player in the backcourt with no pressure is going to be fine dribbling the basketball, and they shouldn't really have any violations. So what the referee does is they look up the floor to see any other more competitive matchup. Because if all we do is look at the ball handler dribbler, now we're leaving our lead with 9 players. And obviously lead is looking towards the baseline. What happens is they kind of guess on this play. All right. So again, we'll look at it again. I'm not going to get into too much of if it's a travel or not, but they're dribbling, and then the referee decides to look up the floor, and then they see the tail end of it, and it's an educated guess. Now, there's no one really jumps up from either team, okay? If we don't see all the information, we don't have it. We don't understand the pivot foot. We don't understand if it is a travel, then we need to leave it alone, because it's just a guess. They do guess. I don't know if it's a travel or not. Don't really want to get into it. But my point on this is, do not guess on plays if you don't have all the information. And for this one, I know this referee personally. I know they don't have all the information, so they guess, and we come out with a travel. They don't get much heat from either coach or anything like that. But if a coach was to go back and look on this, I had to look at this play several times to determine if it was a travel. If we do that, then it's obviously we're going looking for things, right? So if you can't see it right away, jump out at you. So let's go ahead and just, again, be a little more disciplined on it, that we don't have all the information. Again, I like that the referee looks up the floor. A lot of us would just stay on the ball and not see up the floor. That's what happens when we look up the floor looking for more competitive matchups. This is something that we would miss. My personal opinion was I'd prefer to miss this travel than we have an elbow to the face, or two kids get caught up, or there's any kind of illegal contact up here. To me, that's more of an issue than a kid traveling in the backcourt. Anybody want to add? There may be some different views on that. That's my opinion. If anybody would like to add to that, you let me know.
Mark, the only thing if I can, to add to that is, as an official, and you're the referee and you toss the ball up and you know that it's going to go one way or another, don't be afraid to maybe take a step or two into the backcourt to do exactly what you're talking about, Mark, is now you can open your body up and you can see all the plays in front of you, but a little bit better peripheral to see the ball handler. You're right. Nothing should have happened there. But don't be afraid to take a couple steps in the backcourt to get a wide open look at everything.
Yeah, agreed. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. Possibly if we would have stepped back, but I know a lot of us, we want to stay, typically when the ball goes up, because we want players to clear. But here there is definitely an opportunity for them to get back, to widen their view and see through this and see everything. So yeah, good points on that. Okay, so we have a travel. Let's talk mechanics on this. All right, so we have a travel in the backcourt. Somebody tell me, come unmute yourself. Again, a newer referee. How are we going to resume play? Who's bringing the ball in? So let's just say that we're going to bring the ball in on the sideline here, now in the front court for white. Who's supposed to bring this ball in? Are we going to have the referee bring it in and we're going to send new lead all the way down to new lead? Or are we going to have this lead referee come up into the front court and we're going to send the referee down to lead? What would you guys do in your game?
Mark, is it not correct that the trail here is supposed to run over to the ball, and then the guy with the ball is supposed to go be on the base?
Okay, so Josh has this referee coming over to take the ball out of bounds, and then we're gonna have the referee go down there. Anybody got anything different?
Isn't it by rule though, if it's in the front court, the one closest to the ball is supposed to take it out? Like if there's, since the trail called call was in the front court, shouldn't he take it out by rule in the book, and then the other guy is supposed to be all the way on the other side? But if it was hold on, let me think.
Yeah.
No, mind, because that was backcourt. If it was backcourt, the person that calls it would stay. Never mind. Disregard.
Okay. So you have what? Okay. Who's heard of the terminology bump and run? Have we heard that, a bump and run?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a difference between a bump and a run and a long switch. We don't do long switches. All right. Now, some people may make you do long switches, but a long switch is then, I'm going to run it and see if you think this is a bump and run or a long switch. So that's a long switch, right?
Long switch,
so
yeah.
If we look at it, just imagine you're this referee, all right? Anytime you're running from one end line to the other end line, mechanically, do we think that is something that makes sense? So I think everybody on here is saying that we should have a bump and run where the referee would come over here and we would send this one down. Okay, I think that's what Josh said first, right? Anybody have any? Okay, anyone have anything different on this?
But Mark, like if we're in the rule book though, because of where you put it in at, isn't it if he makes a call in the back court, isn't it that they supposed to like if I made the call, whatever, don't I stay and then the other referee goes? If it's in the back court, but it's in the front court, that's when you do your switches.
Well, yeah. If we're okay, let's do it like this. If you're over here, if you're here at trail, say, right, and you're in the front court and the ball goes out of bounds here, right? Say this referee's here and the ball goes out of bounds, right? You're going to make this lead referee come and take the ball out of bounds over here, and you're going to send this referee down. You're not going to say, okay, I'm going to bring the ball in here, and I'm going to send that referee all the way down the other lanes on the floor. That's a long switch. We're going to be doing bump and runs. Does anybody have anything different? I mean, I need to get the manual. I have the manual in front of me. I probably need to go into the book to do it.
That Calvin said that that's the rule guy with the tassel. I thought he was telling us in camp last year at Camp Texas that in the backcourt, you don't switch if you make the call. And then, but in the front court's when you switch.
That's 3-person.
That's
Yeah.
correct. Are you talking 3 or 2? That's correct.
Yeah.
And then 3, you say trail is a trail is a trail.
Right. Yeah. We're talking 2-person mechanics. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Robbie, but yeah. Okay. So yeah, we need to bump and run. Yeah, 3-person, you're absolutely correct. But yeah, 2-person, we need to bump and run. Okay. So let's get into this. All right. So we mechanically we're incorrect here, right? All right. But then let's say we bring the basketball in. What's the first thing we notice right here? What do we notice?
Lee's not in position yet.
Yeah,
Lead's not ready.
Absolutely, right? So we're not in a hurry. We've been playing 4 seconds. 4 seconds, the clock has stopped. So we just don't need it to be, but let's think about it. We're making that referee run from baseline to baseline, 84 feet, and then you're going to bring the ball in early, all right? So mechanically we're wrong, and then we don't even let that referee, mechanically you're making that referee run all the way down the floor, and then you're going to, I'm not even going to wait for you to get there. I'm going to go ahead and put it in. Look how many players are down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 competitive matchups, and then nothing in the backcourt. We've got to allow that lead to get all the way down. And I'm holding the basketball at trail, and I'm still looking over here. I'm going to look where my referee is going. I don't need to watch 20, no competitive. I don't need to watch this kid. I'm not even going to give him the ball. So there's 4 kids back here that are not even any kind of, they're not even any of my worries. No concern for me at all. I need to wait till the referee gets down here, gets to the baseline, and then can set up to do that. We have to allow referees to get to our starting spots, our home bases, and then also we need to get to our home bases a lot earlier. So hopefully that he hustles a little bit more. But again, we're bringing the ball in. It's just bad. It's just when that's nonverbal is bad. We always have to make eye contact before we bring the ball in. That's our checklist. We've talked about many times about our checklist. Our checklist when we're bringing the ball in. Everyone should have a checklist when you're doing certain things. So here, our checklist when we bring the ball in, I'm going to make sure my partner's ready. I want to make sure the clock is ready, that it's not running. I want to make sure that I have 5 players from each. I want to make sure there's no one at the table. We don't have any subs, right? There's a checklist that we go through before we even bring the ball in and make it live, all right? Something we talked about at trail, we're very bad as a chapter. Trail means trail. And right away, we can see that trail is ahead of the basketball. We can see that, right? And looking back. Trail needs to be behind, looking through. We always talk about having a, this would obviously be an inside look through here, so I can look all the way in. I can also look up the floor. If we look at Trail's position, they're looking back, what's their next matchup? If they're looking back, that would be the bench over here. If Trail is behind the play, they're following this up, and then they can actually see in their peripheral everybody else. We really want to work hard on keeping the players boxed in and using our peripheral for our secondary matchups. So Trail needs to be behind the ball with a 10-second count and then looking through this play. And then also this ball starts to go in which lane all the way to 3 or C. We need to be in the middle of the floor. So right here, Trail should be behind. Probably we don't like to go any further than this circle. So probably right around here would be a good position, but we're trailing behind to see this. The hardest spots in 2-person, and I got to work 2-person all this past weekend, and it's a fact. When you go to 3-persons, you don't ever want to go back. It's an absolute. I don't remember the last time I did 2-person. It's been a while. I really struggled on coming up the floor and staying too wide because we don't have a center over here. We had a game where there was so many traps on both sides of the corner. It's really hard for Trail to stay hugged to the sideline to see this. So when that ball gets over here, we need to be behind and we need to be close to the middle of the floor where we can see through it. Anytime you get in these areas right here, it's okay as long as you're aware where you are. I see so many referees get to the middle of the floor and they forget where they are, and then there's a quick steal or a turnover, and now they're in the middle of the floor and they've got to kind of try to get out the way. As long as you know where you are and you're in passing lanes, you can anticipate if a ball does get tipped, and then you can work your way and get out the way and get closer to the sideline. So here,
Hey, it's Josh.
Go ahead, Josh.
Is it
Yep.
is it safe to say, because I got a ton of North Side JV games, and these kids are incredible athletes, and I'm a 39-year-old man. So when the ball would cross half court, like I would be working towards, as a trail, I'd be working towards the midline, like the midline, the rim line, whatever you want to call it. And then when he crossed half court, if there was a trap coming, I would kind of move towards it. But I did get in a situation in one of those games where I started working too soon. The kid faked like he was going to cross half court. He did his back dribble. He saves himself and throws a cross court pass where I'm in the way.
Yep. So that's why the deeper you are, the better you are. So because what happens is the ball gets here, we don't need to be in the front court. That's what happens a lot, is that when we get too close to the middle, deeper is better than on the floor. So I wouldn't even, like, for instance, I wouldn't want to get too far past this blue line. So I want to work deeper. Because if you want to get closer to this play, like you said, Josh, then you start coming here, right? You come in this angle. Now you're getting right into the middle of the floor. So it's better to work deeper, and then you're a little wider. Because if there is a quick steal, guess where you can go? You can then get out to the sideline where you need to. So
I only made that mistake once, but if you do that in a critical part of a game in a gym like Marshall or something, man, that's tough.
You can ask Frank. Me and Frank had a game, and he got ran over to the bench.
Man, I'm still in row 3.
Yeah.
The point to that is closer is not better, especially in two-man.
Absolutely.
And you're going to find yourself, and we haven't even got to the lead and talk about coming across the lane and being over on the strong side and leaving. So closer is not better, but deeper is better. So you have peripheral and you can see wide. You have to compensate. If you're working 3-man and then come back to 2-man, you got to compensate for what is not there. And sometimes that's moving back, not closer. So absolutely, you'll find yourself whatever feels comfortable. Because when you look at the 2-man mechanics, it'll tell you philosophy a little bit, but you got to feel what is comfortable. And you just said it. It only happened to you once, and it didn't feel comfortable, so you changed, and that won't happen again. And that's how, from a 2-man mechanics, it works. Where the ball is right now, everyone's looking there, but no one has a good look. The lead official is leaning, and the trail official is, I'll guesstimate, 40 feet away. But everybody's looking there, so nobody has a good look. So as Mark somebody put a block on there, if you're there, you got a better look. So do what feels comfortable, and sometimes it may look uncomfortable. But yeah, I was in the 3rd row.
Yep. I was gonna say, Josh, is anytime you guys are in this area, you should be uncomfortable, because that's not really a spot that we want to be in, because that's when you're in passing lanes and you can easily get ran over. So for me, if you feel like if this is the angle you need to get, then we need to be deeper and wider, as opposed to getting, like Frank said, we don't want to be closer as far as that. But I'm glad you said that, because I see a lot of 2-person mechanics. I see a lot of referees way too far on the floor. We got to be careful in getting on the floor as opposed to maybe working a little deeper. And it's really hard. Finding angles in 2-person is really, really hard. And that's why we talked about on our very first one with 2-person, we got to have an active lead, really active. Like this right here, this is leads play. We don't need 2 sets of eyes on it. It's under the 3-point line. And I even like to say, even close to above the 3-point line. And there's a trap over here. There's nothing saying that lead can't come out a little wider and help up here, because you have backs. You have a trap here. You're not going to see any illegal action on the front side. Lead has nothing in the paint, nothing in that primary area, so they need to assist on that. It's things you have to pregame. There's a sentence in 3-person and 2-person about you have to pregame secondary coverages. That's what you have to do. You got to talk about situations, and if you don't talk about them in pre-games, and then it comes up in a game. For instance, if they're trapping in these corners over here, next time out, next opportunity, you need to start talking about those. How do you want to cover, especially if you're working with maybe a more experienced referee? The question would be, hey, how do you want to cover those traps? And then however if they give you something that you can work with, then say, okay. They may say, hey, like if it's Josh, hey Josh, don't worry, I'll extend my primary up there. I'll help you on that trap. Well, that's going to help you. If they say, hey, that's your primary, you're going to have to work, maybe a little deeper to get that. Then again, but those are the conversations that you have to have, because there's so many blind spots in two-person that you don't have that extra set of eyes. For example, then when this ball comes over half court, you got a center referee that takes all of that. But you don't have that. You don't have that extra referee, those two eyes that all that this coverage over here ends up being trail. I've said it before, when you look at the diagram, it's just not fair. Trail has almost 75% opposed to a little bit of paint in the lead. Well, what happens is if you stay so true to that diagram, then at lead you become a little, I won't say lazy, but you're not as active as you need to be. And you got to have an active lead to help assist trail. And we always talk about you got to referee where your partner cannot. So in this situation, I like the feedback. I appreciate you saying that.
Hey, Mark, I don't want to like take too long on this, but I just wanted to ask you, because I did get into a situation just real quick situation where I was at Reagan. It's a Saturday morning. They're playing Lee, and I'm the trail, and it's the end of the half. And I end up having to be the one that makes the decision on whether he got the shot off before it was out of his hand. So anytime that you're the trail, and you have a view of the shooter and the basket. Hopefully you've already signaled with each other. I'm pointing up at the clock. It's under a minute. We know that the trail has it. In this situation, it was a bang play. It happened so fast that I called it a made basket when it was questionable. It was one of those freaking Charles Barkley against Billy Crystal items. So like when that thing comes out of his hand, like I call it and proceed to have to give a technical to a Lee assistant, because he will not let it go. I mean, I begged him to get away from me, and he wouldn't.
Okay. What's your question on it? What you have a question on that play?
Yeah. My only question is it correct that that the trail always makes that call?
So in two-person mechanics, it's going to be the trail, but it also depends where the shot also can come from. So let's just say this, right? Let's say in this situation, we have a shot, last second shot that comes from in the corner. Maybe it's a last second 3-point shot in the corner on lead side. Okay. Now, who's going to have more information on that shot? Well, obviously the lead's going to have more information because that's in their primary. They're probably going to have a better understanding if that ball had been out of the hand before the clock. Now, mechanically, what you need to do is the trail is responsible for scoring or wiping that basket. So in this situation, if I'm the trail and I believe that it went in, then I'm going to go boop and I'm going to score the basket. All right. And if I don't, then beep, I'm going to wipe the basket. That's mechanically. Now, that doesn't mean that's all said and done. Now you're going to obviously have a conversation. If lead comes to you and says, hey, if I was lead, or if a lead came to me and said, hey, Mark, are you 100% sure on that? You got to put your ego aside and say, no, I wasn't. I just made a quick decision. What do you have? And then if they tell you, well, this is what happened, right? And they have definite information that the ball was in or out of their hand, then you're going to go with that. Now, mechanically, I'm still responsible. So if the lead tells me, hey, Mark, it was good, and I had wiped it, okay, then I'm going to turn to the table, beep, and I'm going to score the basket, and we're going to proceed that way.
Okay.
That's mechanically how we do it.
I mean, yeah, thanks. Hindsight's 20/20. I think we both got cussed out by our wives that morning or something, because it was just one of those that just escalated real quick.
Yeah, those are tough. Those end game situations are tough, and those have to be pre-gamed. And we'll probably do a segment on that maybe next 2 weeks. I'll actually get into some last second shot with that, because we can dive in a long time on that.
Mark, can I add something real quick, and then we'll do it 2 weeks from now. That's a teaching point that when you come into a facility, if you get to walk through the facility before you go to the locker room because you're looking for the game administrator, take a second to look around the facility and see where the clocks are, see where the clocks are not, and see what is best for your crew when you pregame based upon the clock location. Some places you go to, there's one clock. Some places it's at the table and that's it. If you don't see it, when you come back out, and you're waiting 10, 15 minutes during pregame and you're waiting everything, talk and do a little bit more pre-gaming on, hey, this is where the clock is, and have a understanding of who's going to help what and this and that, because every facility is different. And when we go to maybe a playoff game, we've never been in a facility. That's one of the things you do is you walk out and you look at it. Treat that game just like a playoff game, whether it's a middle school game. Every location is different. Know how you're going to have to adapt based upon that. It may not be the lead, or excuse me, the trail. Trail may never have the best look. So have an understanding of your facility and talk about the facility also. You don't control it, but you can adapt to it.
Yeah, I wish that was a good excuse at Reagan. I made a mistake in calling him a technical, and it's one of those, like, I know I've made that call right many times at the end of a half, or end of a game, but in that situation it was questionable. I don't remember having a conference with my partner because I felt like he was there pretty quick, but at the same time, like, this is a couple of years later and I'm still thinking about it, so something was wrong.
And he probably deserved it.
The biggest thing is when we have those type of last second shots, right? The biggest thing is we got to slow down. That's number one. It's the anxiety is high with everybody. The temperature of the gym is obviously over 100 degrees, right? That's with coaches, with fans, with players, and those deciding factors, because basically you're going to decide the outcome of the game on those last second shots, if it's good or not. So those, you just really got to slow down. The best thing is just get kids to benches and just talk through it, no matter how long it takes. And then the key word is definite knowledge. You got to have definite knowledge. An example would this be is if a kid shoots a 2 or a 3 and you have no definite knowledge. Well, you're going to go with a 2. You can't just go with a 3 because that may tie the ball game or it could win a ball game, whatever. So the definite knowledge piece, and it's the same thing on a last second shot. If you don't have definite knowledge, then you can't obviously make those decisions. It's hard. I've had many last second shots. I know a lot of referees on it have been doing a lot longer than I have, and we always learn from it. So I'm glad you brought it up, Josh, because you said years it's still eating you up. I know if you do it, if you were to do it again, you'd probably do it different, and that's what refereeing is all about. As long as that you understand, okay, I made some mistakes in this one. You share those mistakes with others so they don't do it, and that's how we learn. We probably learn more on refereeing from other people's mistakes than our own, which is unfortunate, but it's just the reality. But that's why it's good to share your experiences with other referees, because we don't want referees doing the same thing night in, night out. So if we can learn from your mistakes, Josh, and other people can, and you can, I mean, we only continue to get better. So I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's a good topic to bring up. So I'll write that down, and maybe we'll get into some atypical situations, because they're the hardest to deal with. Judgment, those type things is one thing, but dealing with atypical plays and last second shots and the scrutiny and all that stuff is just a good topic to get into. So maybe we'll work on that.
Thank you. And just a real quick shout out, the one guy on that I see on here that was really good as a veteran helping me. We spent an entire morning together in Junction, Texas, is Mr. Dragon.
Richard just jumped on. Yeah. So yeah, Rich, I appreciate you doing that, Rich. All right. So let's get into this. Let's look at the hustle, right? And this is a referee that likes to hustle. But right here, when the ball is passed, we need to be moving. And if we just kind of walk into areas, right? The ball is moving, we need to move. Just be a little more brisk. I'm not saying sprint all over the place, but our movement could be a little bit. See how we're kind of walking a little bit? Good job on the 3-point shot. Something I do horrible at. What do we do at trail? Old trail, new lead. Let's see what happens. As soon as the shot goes up, what do we do? Boom. Everybody see that? We all do it. I do it all the time. That we turn we look to the baseline. Got to look over our shoulder. Because what happens is, I don't know how many times you guys have done this. How many times have you run to the baseline, turned, oh my God, there's 10 people in the backcourt, and then you've got to run all the way back up. So the best thing to do is on shots is even up all the way here. Does a good job of boom, just stay there. We don't need to move. We just boom to the table. We communicate. It's a 3-point shot. We're good, and just stay. Now he can continue to shuffle down the floor and then look back. His vision should all be here. I'm not going to talk too much about lead. We're not doing that, right? We're not going to mirror at lead. See how the shot goes up? Watch our lead real quick. That's in trail's primary, and he marks it and he scores it, goes in. That's trail. Lead doesn't need to be doing anything, all right? We're just gonna keep running through it, and I'll see some stuff. Okay. If you guys see anything, more than welcome to in the chat or stop. But we'll just. So let's talk about this foul. So players are going to beat us again. And I'm not going to talk about this individual's hustle because I believe that he's trying to get into position. Maybe could hustle a little bit more, but he's not very fast. That's not nothing rude about that. That's a fact. So kids are going to be when kids are going up the floor, you can see that the gap between the referee and the on-ball matchup just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Because they're faster than him. And kids, they stay the same age every year, maybe a couple years here and there, but they're always going to be between 15 and 18. And unfortunately, we don't stay between 15 and 18, right? So we always talk about how kids are always going to be the same speed and we get slower. So we have a foul here. Anytime you have a foul, I'm not saying it's a foul, I'm not going to get into that, but you're really far from the play. How can we be more credible as referees if you do have this? It happens, right? You have a foul, you're far from it, it's a foul. So I blow my whistle. What can I do to help my credibility? What do you guys think on this?
You better make sure you're 100% before you make that call.
Okay, what else? So just to say that this referee got it right.
I would hustle up. I would hustle up through the 10-second line and maybe make the call.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right, we got to close, right? So you can have your fist up here, but continue to close. Because guess what these players have done? They're going to stop on the whistle. But if you continue to close, just maybe he gets to like close to the division line. Then the coach turns and looks. What does our credibility look like? As calling a foul from all the way in the backcourt, I don't know, 15, 20 feet from the play, or we close and get, 7, 8 feet closer. Now we're only maybe 7, 8 feet from the play. Now your credibility goes up. But if you stay all the way back here, the coach looks at you, and these coaches are smart. The first thing they're going to tell you is, how did you see that? You're all the way back there. Understand this referee can't get there, and there's maybe some referees on this Zoom meeting that struggle with this. How you can help yourself is close when you have fouls. Keep your fist up and close, and then you can say, and you can verbalize what you have as well. The problem is we're reporting so fast. What are we supposed to do? What is the procedure when we have a foul? So let's say my fist goes up. Boom, that's it. Someone talk me through what are we then doing? Just take this play. So we just say we have a hand check or a blocking, whatever foul you have, right? So we're going to go crack. There's our whistle. What are we doing next? Someone walk me through it.
We need to make sure that we gather the correct number that of the person who calls the foul. Make sure that we make the right call, what kind of foul, and then we need to let our partner know what's going on.
Okay.
Come on,
Anyone else want to add to it?
Marvin's in there.
Come on, James. James Young, come on.
I know Marvin's in there.
I think he's asking more. I think he's asking more how you report it.
Well, I was just going to say what I would add to that is sometimes if it's a real physical foul, sometimes you want to hold that fist and take a confident position and eyeball them for a few seconds instead of just turning to the table.
Absolutely.
Can I add to that as well?
Sure.
So one thing one of the veterans had told me also was make sure you stay on that play, because if like James said, if it's very physical foul, make sure it doesn't escalate to anything bigger than that. So
Absolutely. Great point. So the first thing is, and I'm glad you said it, is we have a whistle, and the first thing that we do is we stay with the foul. That's on every play, no matter if kids are going at it or not. Even if it's just a foul and they separate, you still want to stay with the foul. A couple of reasons for that. One, that we don't have any retaliation, right? That's all. Also, it kind of slows us down, right? Because if we just go boom, 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 and we're too fast, sometimes we get numbers wrong. Sometimes we point in the wrong direction, right? And it's huge. If we get a number wrong, we may end up giving it to the offense. We could give someone else, could end up giving them a third foul. And if someone doesn't pick it up, then we got all kinds of trouble. So first one, we're going to blow our whistle and stay with the foul, right? And then we have to signal the foul that we have. So if we have a hand check or we have a blocking foul or a push, we're going to have that, and we're going to signal that, and we're going to, and you can do it. I don't do it, but I believe it is, and someone can help me on this. It's good to verbalize what we have as well. So we can go boom, hand check, white 54. There's nothing wrong with saying that, just because then also it tells you, like, it helps you with the number, and then you can then report it to the table. So we can do that, spot of the foul, stay with it, And then we're going to also give where if we're going to be staying here, if the direction, whatever is, we verbalize all that, one, to communicate with our partner, with coaches and players. And then the last thing we do is then we're going to report to the table. I see a lot of referees that go the other way. They want to go foul, go right to the table, report, turn around, and then they have to tell maybe their partner. The players don't know what's going on, those type things. So we want to really slow down, stay with the spot, verbalize what we have, get all that information, make sure players are good, and then we want to proceed to the table. What happens a lot is I see a lot of referees want to be on top of the table. And I always make jokes about it like it's a secret. Like you're going up to the table, hey, we got it, right? That's how close you are to them. We want to all try to stay in your reporting zone, right? And it's in the manual, and we don't need to get on top of the table. So just try to work on that. So you'll see this, he's right on top of the table. I don't even know what we really had on this. I don't know if I know we had a foul on White, but I don't know if we had a hand check, we had a push, where we're bringing the ball in, who the foul was on, those type things, right? So just make sure that we slow down and we communicate. We got to have a good voice. Voice is a big thing. I think a lot of you have heard that at camp. A lot of clinicians we have come down from Dallas and out, they've always said that, man, you guys, there's just no presence and the voice. If our mechanics are good, our voice is good, our presence, our table presentation, everything is crisp, just imagine what it does to our credibility. Oh, okay, it looks like that referee knows what they're doing. Imagine our mechanics are not sound, they're not crisp. We have a very low voice. We don't project, or we don't have crisp mechanics. Then it really just, from the outside looking in, doesn't really know what you're doing. So that's something we can control. That's all mirror work. That's us staying consistent in the mirror, working on our mechanics, making sure that we're doing everything correct. So just wanted to go over that, because in this certain situation, we're just not doing the procedures correctly the way that we should.
Hey, Mark, before you go on, can I add a little bit to that?
Sure, go
Just
ahead.
one quick thing. I heard someone say the other day on one of the meetings was, if you make a call and you're kind of a little bit far back catching up, maybe just like if it's a push, just come up and say, push, yell out real loud and then come up and make a call. I mean, I don't know if that, you're still catching up to the play. I know what you're saying, to come up with the arm and you're catching up to the, you're running through it. But maybe yelling out what it is you have, so like that everybody understands right off the bat what you got.
Absolutely. Yep. Voice is a tool that we have, and we need to use that as much as we can. Absolutely. Good point. Okay, so here, go ahead.
Becky covered this last week about communicating, and you did a real good job of talking about it. But on that spot, we need our CNF, our color, number, and file, to be the first thing we go to. Slow down. That should help our partner understand what we got. So, and then we report it to the bench, and then we turn around. We should be ready to go play basketball. So CNF, we got to do a better job of doing that in all of our games on the spot.
Agreed. And we do a lot of number color. A lot of people will do a number, but we want to do the color first. So white 15, not 15 white. I hear that a lot. So absolutely. And again, that's just all your mirror work, right? Just staying sharp in things that you can control. I did that when I first came in. I was always in the mirror in my bathroom. My wife thought I was weird, but I would start at 0. And I'll go 0, like hit, and I'll go 1, hit, and then 2. I go all the way from 0 up to 55 on my hit signals, and then I would go to a push, 0, push, 1, all the way up, go that way. I mean, just remember how much time you have, but it just, it becomes clockwork, just becomes muscle memory, and it shows. I know right away when I go watch referees work, I know right away who does mirror work and who doesn't, because if you do it all the time, your mechanics are just going to look the same every single time you do it. If they look different a lot, that's probably why. All right, let's talk about this area. This area seems to be. Go ahead, Bill. Sorry.
Yeah. Just one additional point on closing down. If the official was, say, hustling to the play, the fact that he blows the whistle doesn't mean that he then half hustles. You establish more of a credibility if they show that there's effort to get there, right, and be confident. The other thing is that too many of us look for the ball. Don't worry about the ball. Partner, don't worry about the ball. You have a right to know what's going on, and your partner is going to tell you with a proper signal or with a voice. Okay? There's plenty of time, and there's 10 players to go get that ball. before you put it back into play again. You must get the call right. And you're trying to eradicate the idea that there was a long distance call made. So you keep hustling to the close. As we said before, get within a good distance, be loud and confident, a proper signal, let your partner know what's going on, then step back and look at the table. That gives him time to get the ball, right? And then you can begin playing again. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yep. Thank you. All good points. Thank you. All right, let's talk about this spot right here. We can see trails not trailing, right? This is a spot that we struggle with in two-person, and we need to be more active either at trail or lead, depending on how you pregame it. Like I said earlier, a lot of things that come on this side of the floor, sometimes it's okay for lead to take it, but you got to pregame it. Right here, trail is in a bad position. They need to move, and it would be okay to get into the backcourt here. Again, we talked about coming onto the floor. I don't think that would help. I think deeper would help to see through this, and they may be close to the division line. The ball is all the way on this side of the floor, so we need to do a better job of moving and not staying over here. Right here, this referee cannot see through this open look. We have a foul here, a hit, a hand check, anything. We're just not gonna see that. All right, so we've got to have better movement from our trail referee here. Everybody can agree with that. Starts to bail out a little bit, but then does stay, so I'm okay with that. Try not to do that when the shot goes up. Try to stay or even close. I would prefer, he's very close to the division line, right? When this shot goes up, we need to reposition, adjust. We need to get close to this 28-foot line to help on rebound coverage. I'm sorry, I got all these volleyball girls here. I'm gonna move my table. Hold on real quick, because I know it's super loud over here. Sorry, I'm just moving my table. And if you did hear volleyball in the background, I apologize. I didn't think they were going to come right in front of me when I was doing this. Let me.
I didn't hear none.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, good. I got my AirPods on, which maybe helps. So let me get over here. It's a little more quiet. Okay.
Ask you a question.
Sure.
Not
Go ahead, Rob.
this way. In rule 2-10, correctable errors. If you have, okay, say it's at the end of the quarter, but it's a running clock, right? So the player gets fouled, but they're in the bonus, but you didn't know they're in the bonus, you forgot. And then the table comes and you go to the table, and the table's like, hey, they're on their 10th foul, they should be shooting. The way that I read it, if they have not started it's going to halftime. If they have not started your halftime clock, then that's still a correctable error and clock still correct.
Okay, so let's talk. I'm glad you said that, and I was going to do another one, but on correctable errors. Correctable errors is a tough one. Let's talk about when it can be correctable. There's five. I think it's 5, 6, 5. I think it's 5 or 6 correctable errors. I don't have it in front of me, but let's talk about they are correctable errors, right? When one has got to be a correctable error. That's number one. But when can we correct it? So I think we get kind of up and down on when we get confused about it. So if anybody would like to put it in the chat, when can we correct it? And I'm really looking for 3 words. That's what I'm looking for.
Is it the second live ball?
Correct. Okay, so that's it right there, right? Second live ball is when it's correctable. So in your situation, let's say this, right? We have a foul. That's the first dead ball, right? We have a foul. And that's supposed to be a bonus, double bonus, single bonus, whatever. But the table doesn't tell us. So that's first one. Then we bring the ball in. That's our first live ball. Then let's say we have a foul, or it goes to the halftime. Let's say it goes to halftime. That's our second dead ball. When would it be correctable before the next live ball? When would that be?
Before halftime, before second half?
There you go. So you could come out of the locker room and they could tell you, hey, well, you haven't even started the second half yet. Now, if you put that ball in play to start the third quarter, and then they tell you, well, it's too late. You haven't caught it within the correctable time frame. So you have to catch it before the second time. So in your situation, it's correctable. Now, how would you resume play on that? So let's say you come out in the second half and they tell you, hey, that last foul you had before the end of the half, we should have been shooting double bonus. What are you doing? How are you doing that?
I'm gonna shoot and then just go to the the jump to the jump clock, the
Possession arrow.
possession arrow. Yes, sir. To possession arrow,
Okay.
then make it like normal.
I would make sure I let the coaches know what's going on.
Sure. Yeah.
They're gonna get excited.
Yeah. So, but we got to also remember who's going to shoot those shots.
Or the player, yes.
You got to make sure and then you may have to go to the table for that. Hey, do you remember? If you don't remember, who was the kid that got fouled? And they should be able to help you with that. Who was the kid do you remember the kid that got fouled on that last one? They should be able to help you. That kid has to shoot the double bonus, and then you would start the half. Now, does that kid have to play the second half? So let's just say that is a kid that doesn't start. Are they able to come in, shoot the 2 shots, and go back to the bench and have the original starting 5 that they want to start the second half?
Yeah, because it's not a live ball till they take it out of bounds.
Okay. Everybody good with that? All right, so this happened in a playoff game years ago. It was actually San Marcos. I wasn't even refereeing, but I went to it. Exactly the situation occurred that you just said, that they had a foul right before halftime, and then when they came out, they were told that we should have shot. And that's what they did. I had no idea. A lot of people in the fans thought there was a technical foul because you've got a kid shooting 2 shots with no one lined up. So the perception is, right, so you absolutely have to communicate with the coaches what you're going to do, explain to them, and then that's how you would start the second half, have that kid shoot 2 shots. Obviously, in the basket, they were shooting in the first half. We're not going to shoot it in this the way that they're – well, okay, that's another question. Where would they shoot? Which basket would they shoot in?
At the basket from the first – because the first half foul, so wouldn't it be at the basket that they're shooting at the first half?
Okay. Anyone have anything different on that? I'm trying to remember which basket they shot it at.
They were this side of their bench.
So the way – are they going to shoot in the basket they were in the first half, or are they going to shoot it in the way they're going in the second half?
Because the ball's not live till you put in play for the second half, so technically still be the first half. That's how
Okay.
I base it.
Anyone else? Frank, Bill, you got anything different on that?
I believe that if it's
Or Marvin?
you're going to shoot at the basket that you're going to use for the second half.
Okay. I have no idea. That's why I ask. I have absolutely no idea. I'm trying to remember what they did. I know you can shoot the 2 shots. I'm just trying to figure out where you would shoot it.
No, I would agree with Marvin because
you corrected it in the second half, which way they're going, right? That's when you find the error.
but it's not a technical foul.
No, I know that. Yeah.
Right. So being that it's not a technical foul, there's a possibility of either team getting the ball and the ball becoming live again. Okay.
Yep.
And everybody's going to be live.
You're going to shoot the free throws before the second start.
Yeah, no one's lined up. We don't have anybody lined up. It's just that kid's gonna shoot 2 shots. I'm just trying to figure out which basket they would shoot it at.
Which is why I believe if you're in the second half, you would use the basket that you're going to the second half.
Yeah.
All right,
Take a look at it.
there's your homework. I'm gonna look at it later. So there's a situation we all believe is a correctable error, but we're not able to correct it till beginning of the second half. There's someone find it for me tonight and send it over. Just text it to me and let me know where you would shoot it. But yeah, good situation on that, Robbie. Correctable errors is tough. If you go to the case play, that's the easier way to do it when you go to the case book as opposed to just reading the rule. You got to understand what are correctable errors and what are not. But also the case play, it makes it a lot easier because they give you actual situations that occur. When you're talking about correctable errors, that's the easiest way is just go to that second live ball. We get so caught up in the dead balls and all that. Just think, did we find the correctable error before the second live ball? And just work your way back. You had your dead ball and then go from there. And then did you have your first one? Then you had another dead ball. Did you have that second live ball? And that's the easiest way to then determine if you're gonna correct it or not. Okay.
So, Mark,
yes.
We're using the terminology second live ball, and the rule tells us that it has to be corrected by the official doing the first dead ball after the clock is properly started.
Before the second live ball comes live, that's what I mean. Before it becomes live again. So that would be after the second dead ball. No?
First dead ball.
Right here, if you go to correctable errors on page 19, in the rule book, it
Right.
says it right. It gives you the diagram that you can correct it all the way up. Oh, I'm sorry, the first dead ball. I'm sorry. So it's a dead ball, first live, first dead. I'm sorry, I used the terminology wrong. It's not first dead ball. You have a dead ball, then you got your first live and your first dead. So if you look, the best way to look at it is the diagram right here, and you go to, you know, let me see if I can show this to y'all. Right there. This is a diagram that you want in the rule book on page 19. That's the best way to look at it. Yeah.
So Mark, so what you're saying is that if there's two dead balls, the ball's thrown in after the second dead ball, that's it. You can't correct that error, right?
Well, yeah. So the dead ball is the first. So they don't have a first dead ball and a second dead ball. It's a dead ball, and then you have first live ball and then first dead ball. So technically, it is the second dead ball. They just don't word it like that in the rule book. They have a dead ball, first live ball. The next sequence is first dead ball. You have to catch it after that first dead ball, and then before the next one is that second live ball. If you look at the diagram, it's the best way to understand it.
They don't take the original dead ball into consideration.
Yes. Yeah.
Correct. Here, if I hand the ball to a throw-in, okay, we have a dead ball, we mess it up, live ball, whistle, and now I'm going to administer a throw-in during the said second dead ball. When I administer the throw-in, is that second dead ball over?
Yeah.
It's got to come. Yeah.
It's got to come before.
So
exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So that's why it's that graph is that way. Because that's where folks would say, well, the ball wasn't in play. As soon as I handed it to the throw-in, we're now past the second dead ball, even though the clock didn't start.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what it says. The confusing part is it says dead ball and then first live, first dead. So that's where I messed up, because I said second dead ball. It is the second dead ball. They just don't word it as the second dead ball. It's dead ball, first live, first dead.
It's the second dead ball associated with the play, because the first dead ball is when the situation occurred.
Right.
That's you went back live, then there was another. So you're right that it's the second one, but the way they have it in the graph is a little bit different.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, the best way to look at it is to go look at page 19 with the diagram, and then get in your casebook. That's the best way to understand it. Correct the barrels, they're hard. Same concept. You gotta slow down. All right, let's get it. But I appreciate you doing that, Robbie. It's a good conversation. I think that's another one that we need to talk about, because especially you don't have them happen very often. But man, when they do, you better make sure you understand how to resume play correctly and adjudicate that. So here, let's talk about this. What I did like about when the ball goes out of bounds, I really like what Lee does. Okay, now Lee could do something obviously different because they go after the ball. I would like and I'm being real nitpicky, I would like for Lee to not worry so much about the ball, like Bill said, and watch the players. But what are they forcing Trell to do?
Move.
Right. I don't know how many times I've seen referees that just kind of take their time, they'll look, and then they want to throw the ball across and not force a switch. We have to do that. If the ball goes outside of these lane lines, we have to take the ball out on that side. If the ball goes out inside the paint, then you don't need to force it. For instance, if that ball went out right in the middle, we would just take the ball and bring it over here and we'd stay. We don't need to force a switch, right? But for here, because the ball went out all the way on this side, we need to do that. Mechanically, as a chapter, we're not very sound at 2-person, 3-person on that. We need to make sure we're bringing out the ball at the right spot and we're putting the referees in the right position. So mechanically, I like what Lee does as far as pushing Trell over. We need to do a better job of watching players. There's nothing hurting us right now, but we don't have eyes on the place. He's worried about the basketball. And then when new Trell comes over, kind of watching to the sideline, we need to watch. When players are dead, our antennas have to be up. We have to be live like no other. That's when we have problems, is during dead balls, when kids are not playing up and down. When they're playing up and down, they're playing. It's when our whistle goes, now kids want to try to act like kids and they can get us in trouble as far as that. We need to hustle to our spot, right? There's no excuse why when we're ready to put the ball in play, that trail hasn't hustled over here, got to the 28-foot line, and then determine where they're going to set up based on players out of bounds. If all the players were over on the far side in front of lead, then we're probably going to get to this volleyball line, maybe even a step on at the 28-foot line. If most of the players are farther over to your side on the sideline, then you may be closer to the sideline. We're not even getting into position. Something I want everybody on this call, all of us, we have to get to our positions earlier. That's been a trend for the last 4 months that we've been talking about it, and film doesn't lie on this. Doesn't lie about the way we look, the way we hustle, and the positions that we get to. We can get to our positions earlier. Now we can accept plays, and our call accuracy will go up. If we're behind plays and we're chasing plays, obviously our accuracy goes down. So just real simple, control what you can control, all right? We got to chop the clock. It's not even ready. I put some onus on lead. I'm not even bringing the ball in. I need to, again, go through my checklist and make sure that my trail is in exactly the right position and they have their hand up. Because imagine we have subs. We have subs. That's why you always want to look, because who's responsible for substitutions in this situation in the front court? It's going to be trail. So if you have trail with their hand up and you don't even make eye contact when now we bring the ball in play, we've got issues. So just be mechanically sound, make sure that we're not in a hurry, and our nonverbal communication, our eye contact, all those things, our checklists that we talk about, we need to be better at that. We don't even chop the clock, right? Just mechanical things we need to be better at. Let me look at this real quick. Okay, so the ball goes out of bounds, and I don't see lead with a hand up. Lead barely gets to the baseline. Ball goes out of bounds. I don't see our lead hand up, right? Here's a situation where the play is on the other side of the baseline. We have to have our mechanics, our hand needs to go up. What can we use? Someone said it earlier. Our voice, right? We got to use our voice. Beep, and then we need to say, hand goes up. Here's something that I was told when I first started, was to blow our whistle first. I'm going to show you, but my hand will go all the way up. Now I'm going to say white or black. Then I'm going to point. See, a lot of referees that go beep and they'll go white or black at the same time. So something for you guys to work on is beep, white, and then point, beep, black, and then point. Just slow down, use your voice, and then use good mechanics. We don't get any of that here. Absolutely none of it, all right? Also, if we needed help, we also have our lead tries to kind of leak out a little bit, does a decent job of looking back, because it's real hard for lead to maybe see this out of bounds play, right? So we have to, there hasn't been a change of possession where they've turned and gone. There's been a change of possession where they haven't got the ball turned and then transitioned up the floor. If they haven't turned and transitioned up the floor, we need to stay exactly where we are. If there's a quick steal and there's a play here, that's our primary. We need to make sure that we're going with that, okay? Okay, so let's talk about this on our subs, okay? So what are we seeing on this? So we have a sub here at the table. Watch the sequence. Shorts not tucked in, I'm assuming is what he's saying, and then we're going to take off on the other side, okay? Somebody walk me through that. Somebody new. What do you see? What do you see on that situation that we could do better at? Anybody? I'll go back. I'm going to run it through. So I'm going to go back into my room. Right here.
At this point, I see the trail does not have his hand up. I can't see it from this angle. He's not counting to see if he's got his 10 players. He's not letting his partner know yet that 10 players are on the floor and he's ready to go. That's all I got right now.
I would add to, okay, I would add to that that he's just in kind of a rush. Maybe stepping away from the table, open up where he can, where he can see the table, see the sub, also where he can see his partner and see the play, and just kind of get out away from the table a little bit. Then go ahead and beckon him in. And I don't know, it just seemed like he was in a rush. It just seemed like he was turned around right away, waved him in, was moving away from him. Just looked kind of like everything was in a hurry.
Agreed. And anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
Mark, could you back that up just a second?
Sure.
Okay. I'm not sure that the trail official, good on the uniform thing real quick, but I agree with whoever said about the hand up, because I'm not sure that we saw the who he was being substituted for got off the floor. So you're going to leave if you're beckoning a sub in, you're going to leave the hand up until you see who has come off the court. And now you have 5, and everything else that was said goes along with it. And then the lead official, the administering of the throw-in, I'm not sure he's
So
with his partner to make sure everything's good to go. He's putting the ball in play while everybody's moving, turning, and stuff. So whoever said a little hurried, little rushed, just overall, I think that's a correct statement.
what can I, as a first-year official, can I add something?
Absolutely.
What I usually do and what I would do in this lead position, absolutely, of course, wait for the trail to get to his position. What I usually do is just grab the ball to my side, and I just stand there and just wait. So that way everybody knows that ball's not coming in yet until I'm ready to go, which means until my trail is ready, and then I proceed. But this film looks like that lead is kind of rushing it, and he's not letting his partner get to his position yet. He's ready to go.
Yep, agree with everybody. It's good. Really great job of breaking it down. Just one thing to add, which everybody said, is we've just got to slow down. We're not in a hurry, and this is when we get in trouble, when we have substitutions. This was only one substitution, but I don't think we ever saw that kid come off the bench. Come off the floor back onto the bench. But imagine we have multiple substitutions. This is they're going way too fast. That's when we get in problems, because if we have 6 on the floor, by rule, what do we have? We have technical foul. And could we have some preventative officiating? Absolutely. Most of the time when we're giving technical fouls for 6 on the floor, well, I always ask referees, well, could we have prevented it? Sometimes we can't. Sometimes kids just run on the floor, and it is what it is. But most of the time we get 6 on the floor based on when we have substitutions, multiple coming out from either team. This one's just 1, but that doesn't change the fact that we shouldn't be, our awareness needs to be a little bit higher. We're not very disciplined on this. Again, we're just, like everybody said, let's keep our hand up. Let's be making good eye contact, and let's not putting the ball into play when we're not ready to go. So just something I wanted to touch on, and you guys did a really good job at breaking that down. I appreciate it.
The only other thing I saw, Mark, was again no eyes on the players.
Right.
Lead was going towards the ball, and Trail was watching the sub come in, so no eyes on the players at all.
Yep, totally agree. Okay, so let's talk about this play. So I want to see how many shots have we had up in the front court right here. So we've had 1. So he gets an offensive rebound, right? Tell me why our trail never gets into the front court. You get beat, don't get me wrong. But the shot goes up. What should we continue to do? Hustle, right? We just said it. Assume all shots are missed. We got to continue to hustle. Like the first one, when this referee had a foul, you got to continue to close. Continue to close doesn't mean that we just walk. That we got to understand, oh my God, I'm so far from the play. They missed a shot. Let me continue to close. There's no excuse why this referee cannot be at the 28-foot line at worst, even maybe a step or two down to see this foul. Look at the coach. Again, I said it earlier. These coaches are smart. They understand basketball. So they do for a living, right? As soon as he makes this call, look at the coach. Immediately looks. You're not even where I am. Imagine he was standing right in front of that coach. Bam, has a foul. Okay? You think that coach may possibly believe you if you're strong, you're credible, everything we talked about in the other one with your mechanics, your voice, presence, confidence, but you're at half court making a call at the basket right in front of your lead. Couple of things to this. We have to understand that number one is we need to be in position, all right? That's number one. Let's get past that. We're not in position, and we have been possibly lazy, or we got caught up in the backcourt for whatever reason. Maybe not a good reason. Maybe you have a good reason. You're at half court. You have to have better whistle discipline and tell yourself, I'm not touching that play because it's so far from me. I'm going to trust my lead that's on the baseline that is basically 4 or 5 feet from the play that can see an illegal action. Now, if we're talking about a non-basketball play, we're talking about something that's excessive, that is obvious, illegal. It's a big play and it fits the game. It's good for the game. I'm not saying you can't come get that from half court. That doesn't fit. This play is nothing that's huge about this. And again, I don't want to get into judgment. I'm not even going to get into it. I'm just talking about positioning. Every time we look at plays right here, I mean,
like 4 players.
Yeah, it's one player against 4. I mean, just think about this. You're 40 feet from the play, let's say, all right? I'm being nice when I say that. Let's just say 40 feet from the play, and you have 3 white defenders to 1 black defender. I don't know any referee in the world that is that good from 40 feet to be able to referee that many players that far. There's just no way. So this would be probably a guess. Also, what he doesn't see is offense. Look where they jump from. Again, I'm not even getting into judgment. I'm just talking about the play. They're under the basket. So in order for them to even try to get a good shot attempt, they have to do what? They have to jump back. And they jump back into defenders who, to me, legal or not, you don't see that. All they see from this view is a back. They see a back of somebody, have no good look on it. You got to leave this alone. You have to leave this alone. I don't know if the lead had a whistle on this play. Lead does pinch the paint, and they've got to be deep. So I don't know if they do. From the looks of it, I don't think they do, because I can tell by the body language on that. I understand and some of y'all may be asking, the score is like 7-0. Okay, that's okay to understand it's 7-0. That doesn't mean we go make up plays, right? That's not a good play to go get in any situation at any point in the game, being that far. Teaching points, got to hustle, get to our spots if you want to make that call. If you're not, then you got to have better whistle discipline and stay off it. Okay. Anybody want to add to it or any questions on it?
Looks like the foul was caused against the white team. So I wonder what kind of call he made.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Let's see what we had at the table. So let's watch what we have. Boom, foul. Again, doesn't really close. We got 2 shots.
No, okay. No.
And
I take that back.
Maybe a hit. I don't know what we have, but again, it's just.
Yeah, it looks like a hit.
Yeah, does not work in the system, right? We got to do a better job of working the system. We got to get to our home positions and a dependable position, and he's not in either one. If y'all ever hear dependable position, that means having an open look. So that would be, say I'm at home base and there's a drive to the basket and I don't move with that play, then I'm not in a dependable position. So a dependable position doesn't mean home base or your starting position. That means, are you in the best situation, the best position to adjudicate that play? And so he's not even in home base starting position, and he's not even in a dependable position. So we want to get to our starting spots and then always maintain a dependable position or an open look, whatever. We use open look, but I know some NBA guys have been using the word dependable. So I just wanted to make sure that we understand what that means. For us high school referees, it means just maintaining an open look. Okay, I'm not going to get into that. It was a free throw violation. All right, well, why not? This will be the last thing we talk about. Let's go into this, okay? Okay, why do we have a free throw violation. Who was it on? Anybody see it? I'll show it again. What you got?
The 2 players outside the arc before contact in black. Both
We
of
got
them
on
came
black.
in.
Number
Black 20,
20.
right?
Number
Or the
20.
dark. The dark.
Outside player.
And he waved it off. And not sure that he signaled it, but he did wave it off. Waved it off, pointed, and then pointed. After that, we're okay.
He goes and tells the coach.
Mark,
Yeah.
are we well, no, there's no clock, so never mind.
And then he, like you said, Mark, he told the coach as he walked by.
Boys can definitely be better, right? It is right. We understand that the shooter and anybody outside of the 3-point line has to wait for it to hit the rim. So it's the correct call. Now, I actually like this call based on that. If you don't call it, then you set yourself up to, get yourself in a tricky situation.
A long night.
Yes, and what some referees may do is say it's preventive by going up to that kid and saying, hey, don't do that again. Well, we're in a varsity game, and even in AAU is totally different, but I'm thinking at a varsity game, even possibly a sub-varsity game. Now, we're talking about 7th grade B girls game, and the girls, that's you're refereeing, but you're also coaching and helping them get through stuff. In this situation, right, teaching, absolutely. Here, understanding what fits the game, this does fit the game. I probably would go tell the kid what he did wrong. That's nothing wrong with that. Hey, 20, you got to make sure you're outside. You got to wait for the ball to hit the rim. I do like that he goes to the coach and explains to the coach because not everybody knows what's going on. So it's okay to tell the coach so he can tell the player. Just voice would be better, right? Beep. I like that he waves it off. You have to wave it off. And then you need to, again, he kind of points and goes, but we need to verbalize. Black 20, we have a free throw lane violation coming in before hit the rim or whatever. You can verbalize what happens because maybe the kid hears it, the coach hears it, and then you don't have to go necessarily to the coach. But I do like this. I wanted to use it because I'm sure there's a lot of people on here that are not going to touch it. They're like, and during free throws, we become our focus isn't as high as it needs to be. We should be highly focused on free throws, just like we would on a regular live ball. We got to understand violations. And also we have a lot of kids on these second lane lines that like to dislodge and push kids under the rim and get put back rebounds. Something I'm really working on is rebound coverage on free throws. Something that I think all of us need to do a better job in understanding our coverages and who our primary responsibilities are as far as that. So that was the clip I wanted to end it on. Do you guys have any questions? I mean, we only got two less than 3 minutes into a clip. I mean, you can see how this stuff goes. I mean, you can spend a very long time on games just breaking it down. And we learned that a lot from Becky last week going into it. The main focus for everybody on here is just positioning and movement. That's what we need to focus on. We didn't get into judgment today, and we can get away from that. We don't need to always talk judgment. Anytime you guys are looking at film or breaking down your own film, always go to your positioning. If you're in the right position, if you're at home base, if you've moved to get to an open look, and then you can get into judgment if you like. Don't get me wrong, we got to be great play callers. If you're always in position and you don't get plays right, well, that's not good. If you think about it, you'd actually prefer a referee that's not always in position but gets plays right. But we would love for referees to do both. It's a lot easier when you're moving to get into positions, moving to maintain open looks, and it's just going to help. And then hopefully you have really good, accuracy on your calls and you understand the rules and all that stuff. Bill did send me something on that case play. Doesn't have an answer. Found a case play, but doesn't specify. So I'd love for anybody. Did you find something, Frank?
No, I know the one he's looking at, and I was going to tell you.
He sent it
to me. It lays out the case play exactly, except where
you shoot it. Yeah, it's
exactly.
Interesting.
My personal was that until you have adjudicated everything from the first half, the second half hasn't started. And I will find that, or I'll call Kansas City and I'll get it. But I know the play that he's got because I found it also. It lays out the exact same play, but it doesn't give you direction of shot. And I think my thing is, if you have not fully adjudicated the first half, and in this case, you haven't. It's not like they dunked in the second half warm-ups. And so I'll look at it. But, yeah, I know Bill found that, and I did too. But
Yeah.
it doesn't give you. So
Well, there's your
we're missing
homework.
that part.
Someone, if you can send it to me, I'd love it. I would share it with everybody. Any questions for closing? Anybody got anything? We kind of sped through
Mark,
it today.
I'd just like to add, most of the times when you go to camp, something I heard a long time ago, and I like to tell people is camera don't lie.
Mark, if
Yeah,
I can say one thing, and I said it a couple weeks ago, for those that are starting out and they're up and coming, but also those folks that's been doing it for 30 plus years, if you're in the mechanics book, your mechanics will get you elevated and will get you there. Once you get there, your judgment keeps you there. So when you watch those guys on TV, whether it's a college guy or an NBA guy, which the mechanics a little bit different, you say, man, that's terrible mechanics. Well, the dude's been doing it for 50 years and they trust his judgment, and you know that he's going to be consistent. But to get there, your mechanics. When we talked about reporting, if you look in the Federation book, it gives you a block. If you start out reporting in the block and then you go to the Texas exception where you can walk and talk and do that, but mechanics. If you do it as it's written, you're never wrong, and it's defendable.
Absolutely.
That's
Yep.
it, Mark. Thanks.
Yep. I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, always just control what you can control, right, guys? That's it. You know, we've done so many Zoom meetings over the last 4 months. What's been really good is all of us have dived into our case plays, our manuals, our rules book. And I mean, there's things that we thought we knew and we really didn't, you know. For me, just reading a section a day is something that you guys can do. And Bill says it all the time, and it stuck with me when I was first started out, and he was one of the trainers, or one of my trainers, is section 4. I tell people all the time, just read section 4, get in definitions. It can help you with judgment. It can. If you understand definitions, you understand, you know, guarding and all that things. I mean, it's a pretty big section, but it's probably, I believe they're all very important, but that one is one to start with, is go to definitions and just go through them. And you'll be surprised when you start hearing people talking about plays and how we're breaking it down, that typically one of those definitions comes into play when you actually break down the film. So if you get opportunities to do that, absolutely. I also wanted to add that I know a lot of you are on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel, and also the DDR classroom. I just did start doing my podcast again. I took like 5 months off. So I just put another one out. If you guys like listening to podcast, I'm a big podcast guy, especially when I'm in the car, when I get opportunities to drive. I like to listen to different podcasts, mainly most on like leadership and those type things. Helps me become a better crew chief and just be a better person with my job and everything. But I did put that out. It's called Come On Ref. So if you guys listen to podcasts, go on Apple or Google or Spotify. It's all on there. Just type that in. And I've done 20 of them. I just did 20 yesterday. But those are just good tools for you to listen when you're in the car. And it's all high school mechanics. I don't touch on anything college, NBA. I'm real big on just talking about high school. I did touch on a little bit with women's college and just understanding the difference, but it's all about high school mechanics and case plays and rules plays and different situations. So if you get opportunities to check that out, I'd love for you to go do that. And if you have any problems, just shoot me a text and I can send you the link to that. If you do have any subjects you want to talk about, I think correctable errors was one, and possibly some atypical stuff or end of game situations. I think those are good ones, but they don't happen very often. You know, they don't happen all the time, but I don't mind going over them. I think, man, and I don't know if Frank or Bill or Marvin, you guys can tell, I think I've had one correctable error in the last 5 years. I just haven't had many. So they do come up. I don't mind talking about them, but they don't happen very often. But you just need to know what they are and when you can correct them. Usually what happens when they come in, you're like, oh, dang it, and you just do what you do, and then you got to figure it out after the game, and that happens quite often. But maybe we don't need to get there. Maybe if you guys can do that. Because what will happen is I probably will tell you guys, oh, we never get correct errors, and every single one of this call, you guys will get a bunch during the season. Then you'll call me and say, "What
You're gonna
happened,
get
man?
seven. You're gonna get 7 next year, bitch.
No, I'm not. I'm not getting. I can tell you, correctable errors can be. You can help yourself not get them by having a great conference with your table crew. Now, I do want to end on this, especially for y'all that work middle school games and sub-varsity games. We're fortunate enough at the varsity level that we have really good table crews that get paid a little bit more and take it very serious. Yeah, some are bad than some are worse than others. But if you guys ever watch games, I would go to Blossom. If you ever want to go watch varsity games, go to Blossom. That's the best table crew in San Antonio because they take their job so serious. If you would like to go see a bad one, hit me up offline. I'll tell you which one to go to there. I'm not going to put it out here.
But at Blossom, they take it personal, and that's no joke.
Absolutely.
Them ladies there, one
They're on
dude
point.
or 2 dudes and about 4 ladies. Yep. There's a couple times that the officials have come over and said, "Hey, this is what we got," and they gave them the look.
Mm-hmm.
And the official thought about it, went back, talked to the crew, came back and said, "Okay, here's what we have."
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way, to save the game, that little extra thought helped the game because things weren't going right. So
absolutely.
We do joke about that over at Blossom because we take a little bit of heat from them, but they
you want a table crew like that.
They're no joke. And that's what you want, to question you, because ultimately they're part of the crew. And I said this 2 weeks ago, they're part of the crew. So you got to treat them as the team, and they got to help you, and they got to feel that way. At some levels, they may not, and you get kids and you get seniors doing the games and this and that, but they're part of the team. So you got to bring them along and just go over it in between quarter and say, "Hey, is the score good? We're okay over here. You need anything?" And all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, thanks. We're part of this." So because they're going to take the heat from the coaches if the book's wrong, if the score's wrong, you're going to go over and you're going to bring, and they're going to take the heat just as much if the book isn't right. So you got to bring them in and protect them just the same. So they're part of the crew.
Absolutely. Yep. Also, for you guys that possibly work in some summer ball, I know we had something this past weekend. That's another thing. You're not going to have a great table crew. It's always good. I see if you work with a table crew that's not very good, that actually makes you a better referee because then you have to step up your game as far as you can't rely on them. So if you can't rely on them, and some referees rely on their table too much, that then they're not really working as hard as they can. So it can be twofold. It can work either way. But I did want to mention that for y'all that do mostly middle school games and sub-varsity, that the table crew is not very good, or they're a math teacher and they're just there after school. I mean, I've done some games where they just don't want to be there. Like, "Yo, can we get out of here?" It's like, okay, you seriously, right? They don't quite take it as serious, and they may not be getting paid to do it. You've got to then put some pressure on them in a professional way that, "Hey, I need your help tonight. Do you have any questions?" I always, "Do you have any questions?" "No, I know what I'm doing." Then I'll ask them a question. "Okay, if this happens, what would," "Well, I don't know that." "Okay, let's talk through some situations." I always like to say, "Hey, I had this happen last game." It may not even be true. It could have happened 3 years ago. "I had this happen last game. I want to make sure it doesn't happen tonight." Right? Just something that you're worried about. "Hey, please keep us up with the team files because last week I went to a game and this happened. We had to do correctable errors." You start talking correctable errors and crazy, they're gonna be like, "I don't want anything to do with that." The ones that want to get in and out, then you tell them, "That's fine. I understand you want to go home, you want to go to happy hour, whatever they want to do." Then we've got to make sure that we are working as a crew tonight. And if you have any questions, please let me know now. I bet a lot of you don't even go up to your table crew during your middle school games. You just go over there, say hi, the book's good, and you press on. Well, that's not the way that we're supposed to be doing it. So for you guys that don't do that, you don't even have to be the crew chief. You go over there and the crew chief doesn't say anything, then you bring it up. You're the U1 and you're over there and they don't say nothing. They're a veteran referee. "Hey, table, you have any questions for us tonight?" Not me. "Are you have any questions for us?" You can take the lead. There's nothing wrong with that. I think actually a veteran referee would probably appreciate it because a veteran referee's been doing it 20, 30 years. They don't probably need to answer those questions. I truly believe that the U1 and U2, and I was actually on a meeting last week. I'm sorry, this is the last thing I want to close on. We'll get going. That everybody has a role within your crew. So I'll give you myself as an example. This past year, I was fortunate to go work a college game with 2 Division I referees. Both of them work Division I. That's obviously where I'm trying to get to. But I knew I was the U2. In high school, I'm pretty much every assignment, most of the time, I'm the referee. But I understood my role going in. I told myself, you better know every single rule that comes up. If we have to go to the monitor, if we have to do a shot clock, anything I wanted to make sure I was really versed on my rules, because I knew that they were going to deal with the coaches. They were going to, the coaches were probably going to yell at me because they didn't know me, but I wanted to make sure that I was good on all the rules. Well, guess what happened in that game? We had a rule come up on a shot clock, and I knew the rule, and they both looked at me, and they were like, I said, I am 100% correct on this rule. I know it, right? And we end up getting it right. They got in the locker room, and they were like, wow, how did you know that? I said, because I understood my role tonight. My role tonight was that I knew you were going to deal with the coaches. I was going to take care of my little primary, and I was going to make sure that I was all the way up. What is the difference with a brand new referee? Why can you tell me as a brand new referee, you shouldn't know the rules better than a veteran that's been in it for 20 years? You know why? If you've been doing it 20, 30 years, you think you're in your rule book every day? Absolutely not. You're not, For the newer referees, why would you not be in your rule book every day if you just started doing it? So my advice to you is you should know all the rules going into your games, especially for you. All the people in the Zoom meetings, I know you guys have aspirations of being varsity referees. I know it. I know for a fact. The ones that are not in the Zoom meetings, they're probably never going to get there, or they're not worried about getting there. For the ones that consistently show up, I know your goals are to be better than you are right now. I know that for a fact. So then what you need to do is that you need to stay in your books. That's what you can control. Because I can tell you, if you go to a game and you work with referees and you know the rules better than them, how can that hurt you? It clearly cannot. So that would be my advice. Stay in your rule books, your case books, your manuals. And when the time comes, I'm telling you, all you guys are going to be ready for when that situation pops up, and it's going to travel. It will travel around the chapter. Like, this person knows their rules. They're in their rule book, this and this. And then just hope that the play calling matches it, right? And that's on you. We can't get in your body and make the plays for you. But what can you control? You can control the rules. You can understand case plays. You can understand correctable errors, all those things. So something to leave you guys with, especially if we're not on the floor, I think you guys can control that. You can really control, and understanding your role right now is where you're at. I think that's a hard thing for referees to understand. When you go from game to game, being a referee to a U1 to a U2, everybody has a different role. And I know a lot of people say, oh, you should be the referee in every game. Absolutely not. If you have 3 referees in one game, you can only imagine the kind of issues you're going to have with egos, or 2 referees, right? At some point, you're going to have to let someone be the referee, and you're going to have to step back and be the U1 or the U2. And that makes for the better crews when you allow everybody to do their roles. And that's what I learned on the meeting. It was a crew chief meeting. They talked about what it is to be a crew chief, what it is to be a U1 and a U2. Now, don't get it wrong. You're not going to let anything go out of whack. If you're a U2 in the game, but you know you're a crew chief, well, of course, when the time presents itself, you're going to step up and be it. But if there's a referee in the game, you're going to let the referee do their job and give them an opportunity to do it, because that's your role as a U2. And then if it presents yourself to step up and make a referee decision, then there's absolutely, you want to do that because that's good for the game. Just some food for thought for you guys. Hopefully that made some sense. Again, this will be recorded, so we'll throw it up on the YouTube. And if you do have any topics, I think that's where we're going to go in 2 weeks from now, the correctable errors in the last second shot, atypical plays. If you want anything different, make sure that you hit us up offline, okay? And enjoy the rest of your evening. Appreciate y'all hopping on, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, later,
Thanks,
guys.
Mark.